All right, here we are. We are up and running live on YouTube. We're also live on my page tonight, and it looks like our Facebook Let's Talk Jaws 5 page, or Let's Talk Jaws 5. Did I just say Jaws 5? I'm sorry about that. Mike, you got a new one in the works that you didn't tell me about?
Oh, yeah. Like ESPN, the Ocho 8. Yeah.
My apologies. Sorry, I'm fumbling right out of the box tonight. Let's Talk Jaws
Let's
live
talk
page.
Jaws like 5, the revenge.
Trying to fire up, so we'll give that a run. But at any rate, welcome everyone. Thanks for coming in and joining us this evening. And we have yet another wonderful special guest from the Jaws 50th. I don't know if you can call it Jaws 50th World or Jaws 50th Experience tonight.
Revenge.
And big time, yeah, absolutely. We've got Andrea Shea. Andrea Shea. I know a little bit about Andrea. Well, talked to Andrea and met Andrea and had a wonderful time. But we know she works with WBUR. We also know that she had an incredible podcast out right now called Jaws Island. So I want to welcome you and thank you for hanging out with us tonight. Andrea, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me on. This is really exciting. This is it's interesting to see even my name as podcaster, because this is really my first podcast series. I'm a public radio arts reporter at WBUR, and sometimes do stuff for National Public Radio, that goes national. But, I'm usually working on stories that are 4.5 or 5 minutes long, not 3 half-an-hour long episodes. So it was, it was great. And especially because I love Jaws.
Very nice. Very nice. We actually have a couple people chiming in to say hello already tonight. We got our good friend Mark Ames from Massachusetts. He's hanging out with us. Good evening. Hello, Mark. We got our good friend Val, who was on our page prior, but we all met over on the 50th, and since then has become an absolute regular with us. He's actually helping us out. We're doing a little social media work for us now, so good to see Val. Robin's joining us, saying hello. And we also have Robert McGinn from all the way over in Scotland hanging out with us tonight. It's definitely beyond his bedtime. Definitely beyond his bedtime, but he always tries to make an appearance with us. So very, very cool. Good to see you guys on tonight. Awesome. Yeah. So, Andrea, give us a little bit of background about you. So you've been doing a lot of work with radio, and this is your first venture into podcast. What else have you, has this always been kind of the path that you were on? You've always been, say, in radio. What have you been doing without me diving in too deeper?
Right. Well, I've been in public radio since the mid-90s, first as a producer. I was the editorial assistant at NPR in Washington when I was in my 20s, and then ultimately ended up here on a show called Here and Now as a producer, which is a national show. And I evolved into being an arts producer, so producing segments and interviews like behind the scenes for the hosts. And then ultimately I became an arts reporter, which is what I've been doing for the past 20 years. And but I love audio, and I love audio storytelling, and I love talking to people and learning new things. And the Jaws Island came up because as part of my beat, I guess like a year ago, I was like, oh, Jaws 50, it's coming up. Who's doing what? And of course, the Martha's Vineyard Museum had the exhibition all about Jaws and Jaws's history on the island. and they're how intertwined the movie and the island are. So I did go there in May to do a 4.5-5 minute feature for my radio station. And it was great. I got it was a preview as objects were arriving and they were unboxing the replica of Ben Gardner's head and many other fabulous objects, like the replica of the of Mayor Vaughn's jacket with the anchors on it, and the harpoon gun that may or may not have been, if it inspired the one that was in. I mean, I learned so much, and I mean, I love the film Jaws and have been watching it, 3-4 times a year for at least a decade, as long as it's been streamed. I did not have a VHS copy, I will admit, but I was not quite sure. I knew I saw it when I was very young. I just wasn't, I thought it was with my dad. I was super young. I was like 5 or 6. And so I had this kind of deep connection inside of myself with this film, and hadn't really kind of stepped back and explored where that came from or why I connected so much with it as a piece of art, as a truly amazing film. I mean, I love films. Film is probably my favorite medium because it's all the mediums. It's music, acting, writing, performance, set design. I mean, it's got every art form, and it's these amazing collaborations. So anyway, going and covering the exhibition, kind of got the ball rolling, although the podcast team, when I talked to them a few weeks ago, trying to remember exactly where this idea for the podcast came from, Ben, the podcast producer, we have a podcast unit at the radio station. He was like, well, you mentioned this to me at the Christmas party. Like I always have lots of ideas and whatever. And I guess I had said to him, among probably other ideas, oh, you know what would be really cool? Jaws 50th anniversary. And so they did come back at me after I did the story about the exhibition at the museum. And they were like, hey, would you want to go to the 50th anniversary weekend and see what you can get? And so he was basically like, just go and talk to as many people as you can, get as much sound. And so I literally spoke to more than 50 people over the 4 days.
Wow.
So yeah, you can imagine.
Hours upon hours, I would assume, of recordings, and then probably going and sitting and going through and sifting through and deciding what direction. Now, did you have a plan, say, before you went, or did you just go and start interviewing, or did you kind of have like a basic conceptual idea of where you wanted to go with things, or no?
Yeah, I mean, I think I had an idea of theme. The themes started emerging very quickly, to be honest with you. Like, I started meeting people right on the ferry on the way over that had also seen the movie. They were introduced to the movie by their parent. And that kept coming up again and again every time. Not every time I spoke to someone, but it just became really apparent that this was formative, like that it was a family thing. And so I kind of recognized that while I was on the island. And then the island's role, which I had covered because of the exhibition, because so much of the exhibition was about the island's role in the film, Martha's Vineyard, seemed like a good one for people who hadn't heard that story or didn't know. I mean, even here in Massachusetts, people are like, Jaws was shot on the vineyard. Like a lot of people don't know it. Yeah, which is wild, right?
Yeah.
I would expect that where I'm from. I'm in Pennsylvania, and I had every once in a while we do like trivia shows and stuff. And what we'll do is like people that were on the trivia show, I'll mail a little something out to them. And I had a lady that worked at the post office arguing with me about where Jaws was shot. I went down there and she saw my stuff, and I think I put like one of our stickers on the package that I mailed out or something like that. and I usually put my name and I quick Sharpie a little like shark fin on it or whatever. And she said, "Oh, are you a Jaws fan?" I was like, "Oh yeah, a couple friends and I, we do a live show." And she said, "Oh, so you've been to Nantucket?" And I went, "No." I said, "No." Well, it was filmed there. I said, no, it was filmed in Martha's Vineyard. I have a friend who has a place there and has told me. I said, maybe they said part of it was shot in Nantucket Bay, which is one of the bays at but I said it was all shot in Martha's Vineyard, and I just kind of left it at that. Like, okay, it's fine. Well, good, but yeah, I would expect that here. I wouldn't expect that up in Massachusetts for people to not know. That's interesting.
I know. And then the third episode, like my kind of dream story. I love picking apart like what makes a movie great or a piece of music and having people talking about that, people who made it, people who play it, people who, love it. And Michael was huge, and along with so many of the other people that I spoke with, just kind of driving it home as a piece of cinema. But I did want to show you. So, I said I interviewed 50 people and I'm old school. I do need like paper in front of me. Like imagine using a computer to go through and I do transcribe via program and rely on digital stuff, but sometimes I just need the paper in front of me. So I have this is my binder with my little Jaws baby book, which I love.
Oh yeah, sure. A little golden book.
Yeah. And then I just have all of the interviews broken down by days.
Wow.
But then I know exactly where everything is, like literally where everybody is. I have my table of contents because it's hard to organize all of that. That was a challenge, something I'd never done so many interviews for one story. Usually I'm interviewing, could be anywhere from one person to like 7 or something for my average feature. Yeah. So
we do a couple of people kind of commenting here real quick before we kind of move things along here. So Robert's chiming in, said, "I finally saw Jaws in the cinema and adored it." Yeah, because it's out right now. It's in fact it's doing well. It finished second last week, so they had to actually extended it another week. So
did they extend it? See, I didn't know that. Oh my God, I saw it twice here, but. I might have to see it a third time if I can find it in another theater before it goes.
Where it's going, that's right. We got Robin chiming in saying love WBUR.
Thank you. Nice. Thank you,
Robin. Janie, one of our co-hosts, working a little late, so she's catching us on the flip side tonight.
Awesome.
And Val saying they should have just renamed Martha's Vineyard Jaws Island. Well, a lot of us go. Actually, a lot of us call Martha's Vineyard Amity. We really do. I call it Amity Island, or I call it the island. Yeah, all the time. That's pretty much what I refer to it. Awesome. Well, you gave a little bit of background about you, and I'd be remiss if I didn't at least pull up the picture that you sent me of yourself at the age that you were talking about, and not to embarrass you, but I thought it was a neat connection because I didn't quite know what your connection was until I listened to the podcast, and the first couple of minutes didn't quite start off the way I thought it was going to, but I love the fact that you started off with your own personal connection to the movie, and you were calling your brother on the phone. So I thought that was kind of neat. So is that kind of emerged from the whole idea of the family tone that you came across, or?
Yeah. I had an idea in my mind of actually talking to my dad, who's in his 80s, but his memory is pretty foggy, and I didn't want my dad to come across as like a doddering old man or something, because he's not, but he didn't remember, and I knew that I had seen it with him and that I was very young, and so I decided to call my brother. But I did call him after I went to the vineyard, to the vineyard,
to the island. Sure.
Yeah. So, but it was he I didn't really. I asked him on the phone. I was like, "Hey, what do you remember?" And he started talking. And as soon as he started talking, I was like, "Okay, let me call you back. Can I call you back tomorrow?" So I don't want I want this to be authentic, and not
Sure.
rehearsed or something like that. So, yeah.
Well, let me pull just a little bit of that in. How about we do that? I want to listen to like a good minute or so of your conversation, introducing it, talking to your brother. How about we do that?
Yeah, so this is how it starts, the podcast.
Yeah, this is the episode number 1. If you guys haven't caught this yet, you need to check it out. By the way, and we're going to hit on where it's available and all those good things. And I'll send the link out again after the show tonight. So here we go. Let me run. So I just love the way you introduced it.
Hey.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How's your day going?
It's going. It's going. How about you?
This is me, Andrea, talking to my brother Timmy. I called him because I'm trying to remember the first time I saw one of my all-time favorite movies. I know it was 50 years ago with him and my dad.
Well, so what I remember is I was 10. You were probably 6 or 7. We went to the old downtown Theater 3 theater, and we sat in the front row because that was the only seats left in the place. And Dad had no real understanding of how frightening something could be to a kid. And I just remember really the scene where the shark jumps out for the first time, and Roy Scheider says,
"You're going to need a bigger boat."
And I remember the entire crowd jumping back and being scared witless.
Do you remember my reaction?
You would have been sitting next to me and probably screaming the same way.
I wonder if I was enjoying it.
I will say, I do remember people walking out, and there was a certain exhilaration among the crowd of having seen that movie. I do remember that.
There is a creature alive today who has survived millions of years of evolution without change, without passion, and without logic.
When Jaws debuted in June of 1975...
Sorry, I thought I kicked that right there. I figured probably want to, kick it and talk a little bit towards that. So I didn't mean to cut that off right in the middle of your sentence there. So I apologize for that. So yeah, so what a great way to kind of tie in with your connection with your brother and the fact that your brother not only remembers a little bit of the movie, but he kind of remembers what your reactions were to the movie as well. So yeah, very, very fitting. Especially as much as we throw the term Jaws family around here, because we really do, and it's a very close-knit group of people. So yeah, very impressive.
Thank you. Yeah, and that was the other, part of the family theme that was just all over the 4 days I was on Martha's Vineyard and talking to so many people about who introduced them to the film. It was a brother, it was a mother, it was a father, most often dads. And yeah, babysitters, I remember someone saying, my parents couldn't get a babysitter, so they took us.
Sure.
Covered our eyes.
Well, and, the other big common theme that a lot of us hear and probably a lot of us tie to is the fact that, the age at which you saw it. A lot of us saw it younger than I let my son watch the movie. So we often talk about films of the 70s being kind of gritty and on the darker side as far as themes and things go on, but yet we all watched it pretty young, at a pretty young age, and we seemed to turn out okay. So no one needed therapy because of watching Jaws that I know of anyway. And if I did, I think they would be in one of these groups. So
right. Well, and
yeah.
Michael put that in context too in episode 3 of the PG-13 that didn't exist back then. So
yes.
It is interesting, PG movies back then were Bad News Bears and what was the other one? What's some of the other ones? but R would be like The Exorcist, you know.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm sure Mike or Hooper could probably speak to this way better than I can, but I think that rating was more or less created so Spielberg could push that movie through and not lose a ton of viewers because of being R. Is that right?
The PG-13.
13 or 17, like whatever it said on the poster. Yeah.
Yeah, PG-13 came about because of Gremlins and Temple of Doom.
In 1984.
In 84, they were both rated PG, but they had the guy getting his heart pulled out and the gremlin exploding in the microwave. But what Universal did, they persuaded the ratings board that we're not glamorizing this. It's not like it's a movie about Jack the Ripper. It's a shark, and this is what sharks do.
Mm-hmm.
And to my knowledge, all they had to do, they had to trim a couple frames from the estuary victim's leg floating down to the bottom. That's all they had to do to get the PG. But then they also had to note that it was, maybe too intense for younger children.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I knew those guys would set me straight on that, but I knew there was something to that extent. Sure. Incredible. We do have a couple of other people chiming in here. Let me pull it up here as we're going through here. What we got? So we have Eric. I would assume Eric is someone you probably talked to here.
Eric Augustine.
Yeah, let me get him pulled up here. Why are you not pulling up here?
Hi, Eric.
Oh, there's Eric. Hi, Andrea. Yes. I met a lot of these people in person for the first time. I've known most of these people for years, but yeah, Eric was there, and Eric, I want to say his sidekick, but Eric and Marty, those guys are like best friends from two different continents.
Mark Fitzgibbons. Yeah.
Yes. Just an incredible group of guys, and the relationship that they have it's pretty neat. They don't speak about it, but you see the back and forth with those two guys, and it's pretty reminiscent of a lot of people on these pages. So it's just neat to see that. So
Jim Conway noted that when he told Jeff Kramer that he was 12 when his dad took him to see it, Kramer said if he'd known that, he would have called social services on his dad.
Val's chiming in, saying he was 12 and he brought his 10-year-old sister and 5-year-old brother along.
So great.
Took my 11-year-old granddaughter and 9-year-old grandson to see it last weekend. So
nice. Yeah, my son was 10 when I let him watch it. So yeah, all right. But yeah, awesome. So your travels over to the island. You said even on the boat ride on the way over is when you started to really kind of dive in with the fandom and with the I guess you could almost call it an homage that was being done, or the travel that people were making, kind of like the Mecca of Jaws. So was it pretty bustling? Was it pretty up and coming, like really moved, like it was very evident, or not so much until things kicked off for the 50th?
No, it felt evident for sure. Just getting on the ferry, and people already had their Jaws shirts on, and I knew I was going to the museum for your event, the Let's Talk Jaws live event at the museum, which was, just amazing, and so glad that I was able to make it there. But yeah, no, the excitement. I talked to another Andrea from Massachusetts who was there with her mother, who had introduced her to the film, and her best friend, and her mom made little crocheted shark keychains, and they had their Jaws 50 shirts on. And then there was this other wonderful woman from Michigan whose whole family was going as a tribute trip for their father who had died. She didn't make it into the podcast, unfortunately, just because there was only, I know it sounds like an hour and a half worth of space. Everybody could get in there, but it's still, there was some people I wasn't able to fit in, unfortunately. But Mary Zelensky and her family, you know, of brothers and sisters and cousins were all going over because their father, she explained how when she was young, her parents were divorced and her father would take them to the movies every week. And that was the way they connected with their dad. And even as they grew into adulthood, he would, whenever it was on TV, he would call them up no matter where they were and be like, it's on. And they would all watch it no matter where they were.
No kidding.
Yeah, I know. Wow. Powerful story. And this is just the bane of my existence, where you have a wonderful story like that. And then, because I did create this podcast, is not just me working on it. It was a team of people. I had, 5 other people with helping to shape it and helping every aspect of it. So, but isn't that a great story though? I mean, it was so, and that really struck me like immediately. So that was like interview number 2,
Sure. And that's what I find is how interesting it is many times you feel like you're asking the same question, hearing how vastly different everyone's kind of introduction and recollection of that is. It's just very, you could almost do like a, I don't know, like a small article or like a series of like a journal of just everyone's first recollection of seeing it, and you would be 50 people would be 50 completely different stories just about. And so yeah, very unique each within themselves.
Yeah.
So you did throw some other pictures. You were talking about coming across different people and things like that. So I thought I'd bring
so that's Andrea. Andrea Pascal in the middle. So we're the same age. And then her mom is on the right, and then that's her best friend.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
So another page. And I want to say I possibly, they look familiar. Like I might have come across it or run into them already, but it's so many people that we came across. But when I first saw this picture, I thought I saw this, or maybe this picture has come across one of the pages. Maybe I've seen it there. But yeah, very cool. And even I was there almost a week beyond the 50th, and I was still seeing this. I was seeing people. I ran into 3 men from Wales who were, and I just happened to catch the accent, and they were in Edgartown, and they were just leaving where they were staying. They had their bags packed, and they're just talking about how incredibly awesome and what a life, once in a lifetime experience it was, as they were getting ready to get on the bus to head out to the airport and stuff like that. So yeah, absolutely.
It was amazing, right? Once in a lifetime trips. I mean, people saving for years and booking Airbnbs and years in advance, and just the happiness and the joy that so many people were so exhilarated.
Yeah, and I feel, I'm sure, Mike and anyone else who's ever been there before, you almost feel a little bit spoiled because you've been there and seen some of the things. But some of the most fun that I have is when I'm there and I see someone experiencing something for the first time. I took Judy Pancoast, the one she was the performer that got up and sang at the end of ours. So she and her husband were there, and we're very good friends of the show, and she's been on the show a handful of times. And we were able to kind of hang out and spend some time with her and her husband. And she said, she had talked about doing a Jaws tour sometimes. And she was there like the next morning, and they had to check out because they were leaving. And I said, I'll take you on a Jaws tour. So I'll take you around. I said, we'll go out for the morning and I'll just drive you to a couple of the big places or whatever. And we had a blast. And seeing Judy, like I took her down to where the breakaway dock scene was. And I took her, we went out to, she sat on Hooper's Rock and, went out by the Gayhead Lighthouse and took her, through different, and seeing her for the first time and going to South Beach. I think was more fun to watch than when I experienced it for the first time myself. And so seeing that almost as a spectator, it's like watching someone watching the movie for the first time. It really is, Yeah. Very cool. All right, and you got a couple pics in here from the museum, and I got to say, they did a phenomenal job in the museum. I don't know about you, but I was just so incredibly blown away with how good the museum was set up. I mean, I've been to the museum before. It's a wonderful museum outright, but the upstairs was just incredible. I went 4 or 5 days before our show because I wanted to get in there honestly before it got crazy, and I took pictures of everything in every room, including backing up the entire room because even the walls were tied in for the show. I didn't put any pictures out there out of respect for the museum, or at least not yet anyway. But oh my gosh, it was just absolutely astounding how nice of a job they did with it.
I know it really was. It was such a so deeply researched and beautifully told, and everybody loved this shark. Which didn't she say she was on the show 2 weeks ago or whatnot? That now that shark head is a permanent part of the collection, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's amazing. That's so great for the museum. I mean, because it's like this little gem. I had not been to that museum, and I go to a lot of museums for my job. I cover museums around Boston. I go to the museums all the time, and I don't go to the Vineyard a lot. And I was so just impressed with the amount of and like personal connection though, and responsibility as the kind of keepers of the history of the island, and how thrilling it was for them as well to have a show that was pop culture driven.
Sure.
So I think that really introduced a lot of people to the museum that might not have gone to it otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. And even people that went for any of the talks in the museum, or even went to the reunion, the people that I would run into, I would say, have you been inside yet? No. You need to stop and just go inside, because you're not going to be in and out of there in 15, 20 minutes. You're going to spend easily that amount of time in each room of the museum. And yeah, you're right. The personal, I'd gone in and was talking to Kathy, and she was, telling me about some of the things. And, the one thing that stood out, like, don't get me wrong, like seeing your Vaughn's jacket, seeing an actual barrel, seeing, one of the greener spear guns. But when I walked in and saw the red sweatshirt that the fisherman had on the boat, and when he had a cigarette in his mouth, he was like, they're chumming for sharks, And she told me the story about how he was still alive and he dropped it off, came in and dropped it off, and said, I've been holding on to it. I've had this thing for the last 50 years, and that is just so cool. It was, it's been hanging in someone's closet since 1974, Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's so cool. So that's Mark and Sheila who were in the podcast as well. And they were so nice. They were just another example of what Michael had said when he was explaining the Jaws family, the fanatics, when we were talking at the museum after the event, when he kindly sat down and let me stick a mic in his face. They were so kind. They offered, because I didn't have a car. I kind of pulled my trip together a little last minute, to be honest with you.
Sure.
I was kind of like, oh my gosh, can I get a hotel? Oh, great. I can stay at my old boss's place, and I'm not going to bring the car. That's crazy. But Martha's Vineyard's bigger than I think a lot of people might expect. But Mark and Sheila there in the photo, they were so kind. They gave me a ride a couple of times. And then we ended up watching the film at the Winnetou Resort when they screened it outside with the orchestra. We went together and they're like my friends now.
That's pretty cool. So great personal connection that you made while you were there.
Yeah, they were just so kind. And he's the super fan. She supports his passion.
Jen, my wife, I call it Jaws fan by attrition. So she's a fan, but I tend to think I overdo it, which I'm known to do with other things as well. So with that, she tolerates it, but she is a fan. She loves the island. So
yeah.
Well, we hit on some of the other people that you came across while you were there, because that was the cool thing about being there is it didn't take much to run into someone that had some kind of direct tie to the movie, and so you've got quite a few people, and that's what I thought was the coolest thing about the reunion. Like in my mind, that's the way these things should be done. Everyone was there together. There was no lines. There was no ropes you had to stand behind and wait at the table. I just thought it was really impressive. Yeah.
Right. And that's Carla Remp, who
Mm-hmm.
played I mean, so many fans love the girl, the shark on the, the sharks in the pond girl.
Sharks in the pond.
Patches. Yeah, call her Patches. Yeah.
Patches.
Yeah, that's right.
Artist. I think she's just artist, right? In the credits. Credits somewhere, not on the film itself. But I was very, very thrilled to be able to speak with her, and I had run into many a fan over the course of the time I was there who love her as much as I do, and then getting to speak with Jeffrey Kramer after your event was just a gift, and he was just a wonderful person to speak with as both a film producer and someone who was in Jaws so long ago, and a complete appreciator of not just the film but the family, the Jaws family, and so many, and Jeffrey Voorhees, who I actually interviewed him when I first went there in May. This was before the podcast was even like a thing. I was like, oh, well, I'd love to interview Jeffrey Voorhees and see maybe I can do something on the radio with him before the June 20th, so yeah. And who else did you get to run into? This was at the reunion at the museum, which was amazing.
Right. I mean, honestly, ran into a lot of people that were at our show, but then I didn't quite run into everyone, but I saw them walking around. I saw Greg Nicotero walking around. I mean, obviously there was Jeff, there was Tom. Tom was over. Tom sat down, and we were talking him. For quite some time. There was quite a few people who just lived on the island who happened to be in the scenes. They were walking around with the stickers on, and so you can kind of walk up and chat with a handful of them.
So many people.
I'm sorry?
Oh, so many people. It was just amazing.
Yeah, there really was. Yeah. I'm trying to think. Yeah. I'm horrible with the names. It's like my Achilles heel, but yeah. I mean, just everywhere you would go and you would unsuspectedly run into people, which again, to me, I thought was just so cool. You didn't have to stand and wait in a line to shake someone's hand or get something. You just walk up and talk to people. It just really loved the way it was laid out. So.
Yeah, it was great to speak with Tom Dunlop, who was an extra in Jaws 1 and then in the cast in Jaws 2. But he also works at the Martha's Vineyard Gazette, and he's been, part of that since he was a teenager. So he played a lovely role in episode 2 of the podcast, which is about the Vineyard's connection to the film. So him and Monica Brady, who's the publisher of the Vineyard Gazette now, and we used to work together for years.
Oh, you're kidding? Really?
No. Yes. Wow. Yeah, we worked together. She was a reporter, and I was a reporter, and I am a reporter. And then she left to go do another project, and then she ended up getting this job as the publisher of the Vineyard Gazette, I think 2 years ago or something like that. Yeah. So
she's wonderful. I was on the island. She's like, are you on the island? Great, come on over. Had my wife and I, had Jen and I over to the Gazette one afternoon, and I mean, just great.
Oh, isn't it the coolest?
Yeah, oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. It's like one of the last remaining broadsheet newspapers. So the newspapers, they're just wider. Mm-hmm. Don't make them like that anymore. And
they print them there. They print them in they took me down. They're like one of the only places, small paper that they actually print there, which is
isn't
really
that cool. So cool?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Do about bunch of comments kind of stacked up here. Let me hit a couple. I apologize, you guys at home, for commenting in here. We got Janie saying Brotherhood of Jaws, Eric and Mark. Yes, that's exactly what the two of those guys are. Yeah, you know,
they were so great. So great to hang out with.
They really are. And,
they taught me a lot.
We got John Campbell, who is also from Scotland and who was there as well. He's a gentleman that did the incredible short film.
Oh yes, I saw that. Great work. That was beautiful. Yeah, really beautiful.
The job that he did. Yeah. Very thrilled about it. Yeah. And we have Val's asking a question. He's asking, Andrew, what was your favorite moment of the 50th anniversary on Martha's Vineyard?
Oh God! Well, I mean, seeing the film there on at the Winnetou outside on a perfectly beautiful summer night with 700 Jaws fans. I mean, come on, like that was there, and that's Mark and Sheila. I'm sitting behind them right there in front of. But that was magical. I mean, everyone screaming out all the lines or singing, you know, show me the way to go home, or the locals recognize every time a new character would come on screen, the applause, and watching one guy silently mouthing every word to the USS Indianapolis speech. I mean, it was just like, you know, like, this is amazing, you know, because I watch the film a lot, but I'm often watching it alone. And so to be able to watch it with others, as I got to do last week, again, with the re-release, but watching it on the big screen with others, it was almost too much, you know, like the power of such an experience. I feel very lucky.
Yeah, that was a pretty amazing experience. And honestly, anytime seeing it on the big screen is just a blast. In fact, I have said, and I continue to say that when I go, I sit and watch people. And sure enough, we went to see it like Friday, and there was a group of like 6 or 8 people sitting in front of us, and I watched their body language most of the show, and it was just thrilling. And they said, you know what? We saw this movie. We were all teenagers. We all went and saw the movie together. It's the first time we'd all gone back and seen it in like 30 years, and just completely blown away at how good it still is. And because I walked up and I at the end, probably thought I was some creepy guy who lives in his mom's basement or something like that at first. But I said, hey, I just want to let you guys know. I said, you made my night. I said, sitting and watching your reactions to this film, I said, it was just great. Just, you know, kick back and see that.
Yeah, I took my daughter, who's 23, and she says she had seen it, but I'm not, you know, I don't know if she's ever saw it in its entirety. And I asked her, I was kind of like, oh gosh, is she going to want to go with me? You know, I love horror movies. I love movies. I go to the movies at least once a week. And not everything that I like is up her alley. And,
sure.
But I asked her if she would go, and she said yes. So I was like, and the whole time though, you know, every time as you're anticipating the jump scares, like Ben Gardner's head, I just was watching, like sitting next to her and kind of looking out, like side-eyeing to like watch, you know, and wait. And of course, you know, she jumped when she should jump.
Yeah, Mike when we were in high school, he'd watch the audience instead of the screen.
Yeah, it was such a thrill. You know, I'm sad I didn't get to see it. There's a drive-in here in Massachusetts called the Mendon Drive-In.
Oh, nice.
I wish I had gotten to see it there. I think that would have been a trip. But
still my favorite way to see a movie. I grew up next to supposedly the biggest screen on the East Coast.
Oh, wow.
Drive-in, and it's not around anymore, but I mean, that's how I saw movies. I mean, until I was 13, I was not in a movie.
Amazing. Where was that?
So Sinking Spring, Pennsylvania. It was off 422. Wow. I don't know if it truly was the biggest, but it was. They touted it as the largest outdoor single screen on the East Coast. So
the biggest screen on the East Coast is the Benji's Drive-In in Baltimore, Maryland.
Oh man!
That's why I said, hey, they touted it. I didn't know that it was, but I mean, of course,
Yeah.
like we know any different, you know?
Might have been back then. Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah. I guess Rocky Horror Picture Show like anniversary's coming up, right? Or
Yeah.
yeah. So that's going to be another big cinema. They're doing it at the drive-in. I think that'd be pretty fun.
Wow. Just wouldn't want to be the cleanup crew there.
True.
Yeah. We got Robert chiming in here, and he's talking a little bit about audiences but over in Brittany saying British audiences are too quiet and reserved. My theater was ungodly quiet. Didn't even laugh at Brody saying Quint needed a bigger boat. Why?
Oh man.
What the heck?
I don't know. Maybe what can you do to change that? You know,
you don't deserve Monty Python. That's all right.
Well, I will say I did go to the first screening I went to, and it was the Alamo Draft House here locally. And it was the Saturday night, but it was Labor Day weekend. So, you know, I think a lot of the in-towners went out of town, and there were tourists who might not want to go to the movies, I guess, on Labor Day weekend. But it was a little quieter than I had hoped. And then I went to an art house cinema, like the Somerville Theater in Somerville, for the second viewing, and that was a little more. It was more
lively,
not raucous, but you know, there was a lot of laughing and a lot of laughing, which was great.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's what adds to the experience of seeing a film. You know, I loved going to the movie theater. I really did. I was very much more into music than anything else as far as audio or video went for the longest time. So I always said listen to music or watch a concert, and it kind of slowly morphed into movies. And love going to a theater because honestly, half of your experience is how the crowd reacts during the scene. You know, it's kind of neat. Yes, things come out much quicker digitally now, and you can sit and have it in the privacy of your own home, but you don't get that. You know, you don't get a crowd gasping or people jumping out of their seats or laughing hysterically out loud at a scene that you almost can't hear the next line that's being spoken. But that is just, you know, I don't know. It's one thing I was really hoping would come back, and I hope is coming back, is people getting back into theaters, you know, for those experiences. I really do.
It's the crowd that makes the memory.
Yeah.
So I know when John and I and our friends went and saw Superman, the first one, when he's Fortress of Solitude, it pans around and he flies and he banks across the screen, and they put in an intermission. But I just remembered it was dead silence, and then everybody just went. Yeah. It's one. I mean, I remember a lot of things from that screening. That's the one thing that always sticks out in my mind, how the audience reacted to that.
Yeah. It's interesting. The art house cinemas here in Boston. I mean, one of the reasons I think I live here is because I can go to like 7 movie theaters quite easily, and we have 3 or more art house cinemas. So like the Coolidge Corner Cinema is a great classic movie house, and the guy who programs, the program directors, he has said over the past 5 to 10 years that the increase, it's almost like the way people are interested in vinyl records again, that there's like a new generation along with people of my generation who love film and seeing movies in movie houses. But there is this like new wave of people who want 35 millimeter film and 70 millimeter film, and so that's encouraging.
It really is. Yeah, it really is. Yeah. I see a lot of people my son's age, who's early 20s, really kind of going that direction, going back, catching movies, stuff like that, and collecting the physical media, which is you need to see that come back. Because every time something new comes out, you're like, oh great, I'm going to unload all 462 of these for for $10, and then have to rebuy everything in the next physical media. So it's kind of neat to see people holding on to this stuff. People are coming back around to it. I'm seeing cassette tapes getting released as like limited release runs for new albums. Cassette tapes. I mean, come on. We all lived through that and we loved them because they were way better than the 8-track. But dear God, how many times were you sitting there with a pencil trying to fix your damn because it ripped that right, Or
No.
I mean, honestly, oh wait, is this a chromo tape or oh you're recording a song? Oh, the end of my 90-minute cassette hit, I got to flip the tape over. I mean, just so
I know. I'm going to turn my light on because it looks creepy that I'm hanging out in the dark.
That's quite all right. That's quite all right. We do have a couple of
the sun set, and then I was just like, oh, that could be creepy.
We lost the light. Sure. There were a couple of people commenting about the recent movie experience. Robin saying, I saw it with a friend who'd never seen it before, and she screamed so loud and Ben Gunner's head popped out. It made me so happy. It does, It's just, one of the scariest scenes in modern cinema. It just kind of like warms your heart a little bit when you're scared the crap out of somebody.
I know. It still works.
Never seen it before. Why was she your friend?
Yeah.
I will say my best friend from college went with me to the first screening at the Alamo, and she hadn't seen it in forever, and she loved it. People are like, yeah, it holds up, it's awesome. Those who haven't seen it in a long time. So
yeah, that's pretty cool. I was we were kind of coming out of COVID, and a lot of things were still shut down. In a local theater here in Harrisburg, while they were shut down, they decided to renovate. So they had gutted all the seats, all the old seats out of the theater. It was just this little 2-room theater that's still around downtown. And so what they did was they brought in like sectional couches. Ooh. And what you could do is they could put up to, it was like 20 people or something like that, or it was like $60 or something like that, or $70. You could rent a theater, but you had to pick a movie. You had to be one of the top like 100 list of all time movies. And it was happening. It was my birthday, and like, oh, you're just like, I really could care less. But I was like, I saw that, and they pulled up like 5 or 6 different movies that you could rent and go see. So we rented the place for like $70, and you could invite up to 15 or 20 friends. And I invited some close friends of mine that I knew could have cared less about Jaws, but I knew they would show up because you could show up and bring food and beer. So I knew like they're going to come anyway and hang out. And half of them afterwards were like, that was awesome. Like, yeah, we watched it as a kid, or we saw it on HBO, or yeah, I saw it in the theater, but never really sat and actually paid attention to the movie and what was going on. And the people that ran the theater were so cool. They came back out then. And I'm assuming they were running a digital copy of the 40th anniversary that had the Shark Is Still Working, as a part of it. And they said, hey, you guys are having fun. Do you want us to run the Shark Is Still Working or sort of working? I was like, yeah, run it. So they ran all of that for us too. We were there for like, I don't know, like 4.5 hours or something like that. I mean, it was a blast. Yeah.
Wow, that sounds so fun. Yeah, I think I might have to. I have like my dad's old screen for the slide projector, and so during the pandemic, I would show movies in my yard using like a digital projector on that old awesome screen. And I think for the amazing team that really helped get these 3 episodes done relatively quickly. Usually they're not cranking. We wanted to get the podcast done for the re-release, while it was like in the zeitgeist. And but I think I'll have to have a little party and screen the movie in my yard for the Jaws Island team. Yeah. We kept calling it Jaws, Jaws, Jaws before we had a name for it. We were just like Jaws, 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 which I kind of liked, but.
Did anybody else see the story on the Today Show this morning about the exhibit?
I didn't. I saw
in Los Angeles.
Yeah, Anybody going? You guys gonna go?
I am not. I was just talking to Wendy. Well, I was texting with Wendy Benchley about it, and she said that's where she was. She's like, I was at the exhibit, but I saw a couple photos pop up on the pages, and then I saw a brief video of Kevin Feige with Steven Spielberg, and I did see a couple other things. So yeah, it looks pretty impressive. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Do you know how long the exhibit's going to be there? Anybody know?
I think it's through July. I think it starts Wednesday, 17th, and I think it runs through July.
Wow.
Really? Wow, it's going to be that. Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, I might try to go in February. I'm going to go to San Diego. Maybe I can swim there.
Take a shot up there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cruise in LAX there. Yeah. couple more comments here as we go through. Robert saying he'd love to see Rocky Horror Picture Show in the cinema. Yes, I was. That kind of made a second run around when I was in high school. It became popular again, so I went out and my buddies would catch the midnight showing. Caught that once or twice. We got Val saying nothing compares to seeing a classic on the big screen. Nothing at all. Yeah.
Totally.
And Matt's chiming in. Not all best friends started with Jaws. Mike, must be an inside joke there with Mike. I'm assuming Mike and John. So these guys went to high school together, grew up together, and the gentleman Matt happens to be one of their group as well. So must be a little inside joke there that
the first day of school in drama class, because I got tired of paying to see Jaws. So I went to Radio Shack and bought one of those 2-hour like Colony cassette tapes. Took my portable cassette recorder in, recorded the movie, and I would listen to it at night when I go to bed. And I brought it to school, and we're sitting in the back of drama class, and I don't know what's going on. And we took a break, so I'm playing it like really quietly, and this tall blonde kid turns around and says, "Are you listening to Jaws?" And 49 years later, we're best friends still.
That is amazing. Jamie Saunders also said that he did that. Who's in your book? He said he recorded it and would have it under his pillow and listen to it as he went to sleep.
I recall you recorded Rocky too.
Yes.
Rocky also, yeah.
No kidding.
Yes, just Rocky, not Rocky 2. Rocky else, yeah. Because it's something you like and you just listen to it.
Well, I listen to Jaws. Like I like to put on movies that I know very well while I'm cooking, especially if I'm having a family party or, someone's coming for dinner or I'm making something to bring to, a friend's house or something. And I'll have Jaws on in the background and I'm just listening because I mean, the sound mix is incredible. Yeah. The sound design, really everything. Yeah. It's just, and but also I listen to High Anxiety a lot, which is one of my absolute favorite movies. Yeah, and others, but those are my two greatest hits when it comes to that. Yeah, right. Such a loud airport or dramatic airport.
Dramatic airport.
I love that.
Here's your paper. Here's your paper. Here's your paper.
Here's your stinking paper. I got it.
That's right.
Jamie is just commenting.
We should do a Mel Brooks show next time we do Back in the Day. We should do a Mel Brooks show.
We'll definitely cover Mel Brooks. Yeah, with Mel Brooks, National Lampoon. There's a lot of stuff out there we cover. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean,
Janie's commenting over on the page saying the exhibit should run past the new year and they just came out. And if you go to their website, they have some new Jaws merchandise for the 50th being sold strictly through the museum.
Cool.
So yeah. And she's saying she'd love to do a Mel Brooks recap. So it sounds like we're going to have to put that one in the docket there. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Very cool. Awesome. So let me ask you a question. And I'm not trying to put you on the spot at all, but so now that you've gone through and really put a lot of time in and effort and put out this wonderful podcast. By the way, I've gone through and listened through the entire thing twice now, and I jump around between different podcasts constantly because I'm always putting something on in the background when I'm working, if I'm working out, whatever. Do you see anything going on beyond this, or you maybe do you have enough material you're thinking about maybe doing like another episode towards it, or is that was the experience and kind of moving on to the next project? And again, not trying to put you on the spot, and don't feel bad if the answer is no. I'm just curious. That's all.
Well, the funny thing is, I mean, I would love to, because I do think I want a bigger podcast. We need a bigger podcast. But my job
Sure.
is a staff arts and culture reporter, and
Sure.
it was a gift for them, my boss, to release me for 2 months to work on these 3 podcast episodes. So I was released from my usual, just creating content on the regular that is a story every week or so, 4.5 to 5 minute features. And that's what I do. I just do them. This is what I've been doing for 20 years. And all topics, though, but are under the arts and culture. Culture is very broad. It can sometimes be food. Sometimes it's farms, but often museums or, what do I got inside the Zildjian cymbal factory here in Massachusetts and did a story about that, which was like a dream story. Yeah, no one knows that they're made here. It's a 700-year-old company from Turkey. So to answer your question, because I have my, I don't want to say I love my job. I'm not complaining. But,
the direction of your job is a different pathway than
they need me. Yeah. Like now I'm shifting right to, we have an annual series where we highlight young emerging creatives and artists, like a cohort, people you should watch essentially. And I'm shifting gears and working on two profiles at this very moment, so I would it was a gift to be able to spend this much time diving into Jaws and speaking to so many knowledgeable, passionate people such as yourselves and everybody. So, who knows if they want more, but it's kind of like the podcast people, their unit asked me to do this. My boss had to say, okay. And whatnot. So we'll see, what happens. But I could see, I've been trying to interview John Williams for years because he has a Boston connection, and I cover the Boston Symphony Orchestra a lot. And every year I put in a request, and the Boston Symphony Orchestra really tries, but he doesn't like to talk about himself. I have interviewed him before, once, and he talked about, because he used to be the conductor of the Boston Pops, but basically just as he was it was post Jaws and rising in Hollywood. And I was able to talk to him about a harpist that he had hired when he was the conductor of the Boston Pops. She was retiring. He was more than happy to talk about her, and he happened to be in town. But he goes to Tanglewood. He's old, which is, life. But I would love to have talked to him about, because they released some different productions of the soundtrack on vinyl.
Yes.
So that would have been amazing, especially for a podcast, obviously, just to be able to dive deep and hearing him talking in depth would be wonderful. But we'll see. Right?
Well, right. So all we can do is kind of wait and see what happens and see what surfaces. And that's honestly, I think that's part of the magical part of it because it's been around so long. A lot of us have been exposed and privy to the same things. So when new things pop up, like your podcast, or like Mike's last book, or like experience on the island, all the new, well, we call them new photos that have never seen the light of day, or stories that you've never heard before when you talk to some of these people. Like I love talking to the people that worked on production on Jaws. I mean, some of the stories that we heard, I just, you'd hear those things, and that's just magical to me because those are things that have never surfaced, in whatever, in a released form of any kind. And so to hear that, you kind of feel like it's kind of like, oh, this one's mine. This is my own. No one else has this or knows this. And so, yeah, so it's great to see. As much as we're all nostalgic, we love seeing and hearing some new things, new and relevant to this. I really think at least me personally, I have a big thirst for those type of things. And so to see you come over the island and spend as much time there as you did interviewing people, then put out this podcast. I mean, I was giddy when you sent the link out. So I was like, oh, this is great. I can't wait to hear this. And that immediately took me back to June, which was a magical experience. And I've been there 5-6 times before, but that was a magical experience to be there. And I could hear the voices of the people I was hanging out with and spending time with in the events. And it's just, I love it.
And that was kind of the goal of like, hopefully like the listener would feel as if they were coming along there too, to be able to give them a taste of what that was like. I do think that, it was able to kind of transport people to what a once in a, or hope that, what a once in a lifetime, just the energy. There was just such amazing energy. Right? Everywhere you went, the Jaws Bridge was amazing, and
oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It was so great. Yeah, it was spectacular. And there is, like Val says, there's never enough Jaws content. Like there's so many people that have so much to say. Someone said that on the island. There's always something new to learn about Jaws,
It really is.
Yeah. Hence, this is why you have this show. Clearly, it's like a place for people to keep learning and sharing, and
Sure.
So cool. Yeah.
Well, we're kind of rounding out here in the hour. Do a couple comments and then maybe like maybe a picture or two here, but we do want to be respectful of time, and let me hit one or two things. So Matt's chimed in and said, I'd be interested to know John Williams' personal list of favorite movie soundtracks that he didn't do. Maybe he'd do that since he wouldn't be talking about himself. So maybe that'd be a direction to go in. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe I'll pitch that one every summer. Before I don't know if I'm not sure. I don't think he made it here this year for Tanglewood. But, who knows? We don't have a huge travel budget in public radio land right now, so I don't think I could get to LA, unfortunately. So.
You never know. Maybe he's like I don't know. Maybe he's like a disco fan or Sly and the Family Stone. Maybe he's like into like Judas Priest and Slayer. You never know. You never know what people have personal interests in. It could go in any direction.
Right.
His son's the lead singer in Toto.
Right.
So, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. So at any rate, yeah. Well, guys, have any other questions at all?
Not at all. Just say thank you again for featuring our show and talking to us, and thanks for coming on. It's great to have you. Good to see you again.
Yeah, it's great to see you. Thank you. You really, had I not made it to your amazing event, it really got the ball rolling in so many different directions. And I don't know if I would have been able to get a sit down with Joe Alves had I not been at your event, because I sat next to his wife, who kindly arranged the interview. I mean, it's just that, and the whole weekend felt organic like that, but like everyone was so helpful, and it was just I honestly, it really was a game changer for this, the direction of how this could have gone. So thank you.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, we absolutely loved it. And I hate to do that, but I am going to plug it. So we had a magical time at our show. It turned out, I think, better than any of us really expected. And so, yeah, I love it. I do appreciate the fact that you shot some pictures over there. That's John, obviously, is part of our crew in there, but that's the three of us that were there as well. So you got, and we just, I don't know, things couldn't have went any better. Other than my technical expertise trying to broadcast the show, it went amazingly well. But we had an absolute blast, and I'm glad you're able to be there and see that, because I was sweating that things were going to go well or not. We really were. We were sweating. Sweating it quite a bit. At least I was. Mike has definitely had much more exposure to this stuff than I did. But yeah, I was a little nervous.
In the world.
Well,
in the world.
And also, I wanted to thank Janie because she spoke with me, but it was so loud, like the sound wasn't ideal, unfortunately. So thank you, Janie, for speaking with me. I loved your waterbed story, your dad on the waterbed who would like move the bed when she first saw it, like scary to scare her. Well, all the appropriate plots in the film. So thank you, Janie.
All right.
When we do a Mel Brooks show, we'll have you on.
Yeah. Love it.
All right. We're always looking for guests, so that would be awesome. So
yes, I do. I watch a lot of movies, and I love a lot of horror movies. So that's another one to keep me in mind for potentially.
All right. We've got a lot of horror movie fans, obviously, with the genre, but yeah, great. So, well, Andrea, I want to thank you. Wonderful evening. Thanks for coming on and chatting with us. Also want to thank all of you guys at home. We do have a little tradition here, Andrea, if you don't already know, and it's we end the show with a little bit of fins up. That's
all right.
We say goodbye to everybody. Just a little something that Mike and Jay started a long time ago. I decided to kind of take back out and use again. So I want to thank you guys, and we're going to let Quint take us out as he always does, and wish everyone a wonderful weekend, and we will be back again next week. So take care.
All right.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu, you ladies of Spain. For we've received orders to sail back to Boston. So nevermore shall we see you again.
Have a wonderful evening, everybody. Take care.
Bye.